Camilla Bradley had built her empire with intelligence, hard work, and tireless determination. Born in a small town in the southern United States, she always had an ambitious vision about what she wanted to achieve. Daughter of a single mother and raised in a modest community, Camilla knew from an early age that if she wanted to succeed, she would have to face prejudices and limited expectations. But the truth was that the young black woman had achieved what few could imagine, one of the largest hotel projects in the country. Now, 35 years old, Camilla was the owner of the renowned luxury hotel chain, Bridges. With an imposing structure, the hotels became known for the high standards and elite clientele they attracted. His business, however, was conducted discreetly. Although some of the nearby employees knew who the founder was, most employees and guests would never imagine that the discreet and elegant Camilla Bradley was actually the owner. One day, Camilla decided to visit one of the branches in a busy city in California. Dressed in simple clothes and wearing a hat that partially hid her face, she entered the reception like an ordinary guest, observing the environment and the service. There, he met the hotel manager, Michael Whitford, a tall, polished-looking man who always maintained an arrogant expression. Michael was known for imposing strict and sometimes hostile control on employees and customers. However, their way of acting towards people varied considerably depending on their appearance and their presumption about their origins or economic situation. Upon entering the reception, Camilla went directly to the service desk. She wanted to see how ordinary customers were treated and test the manager's own hospitality. "Hello, I would like to reserve a room," Camilla said politely, but noticing that Michael was examining her from top to bottom with an expression of contempt. "And what do you think you can afford?" he replied, letting out a light laugh while ignoring Camilla's request. She noticed that he stole a glance at the hotel security guard, who had positioned himself near the entrance, apparently ready to act if she decided to remain there. Camilla took a deep breath, hiding her irritation. Part of his plan was to evaluate how he handled these types of situations, although the experience in person was more difficult than he imagined. "I asked about a reservation. There are rooms available, right?" he insisted with a firm tone. Michael, without losing his condescending tone, looked at the system, typing some commands on the keyboard as if he was busy. "We have luxury suites that might not be affordable," he said, measuring each word and flashing a smirk. "But there are other hotels around here that can meet your needs, if you understand what I mean." Suddenly, an employee approached, noticing the tense atmosphere. It was Laura, an attentive receptionist who was aware of Camilla's visit. She tried to get closer to help, but Michael gave her a stern look, telling her not to interfere. Laura backed away, but Camilla noticed the movement. At that moment, she decided to act, but cautiously. He just smiled slightly and accepted the card that Michael offered him with the address of another hotel in the area. Before leaving, Camilla made it clear, almost subtly, "I'll be back later." She left the lobby, but the idea of being humiliated there in the hotel she had founded made her furious. Outside, he was already beginning to prepare his next steps to deal with Michael's behavior and transform the situation. After all, she wouldn't let that manager escape the consequences of his attitude. Upon returning to her car, Camilla thought about everything she had built and how, in situations like that, it was still difficult to deal with certain prejudices that continued to be so evident. But Camilla wasn't the type to accept humiliation. She believed that the best way to deal with contempt was through an unexpected action, something that surprised them. And she already knew exactly what to do. The Bridges Hotel, with its sophisticated architecture, was a landmark in that area, attracting a select and demanding public, with decor inspired by the elegance of the 1920s. Crystal chandeliers, Marble floors and a reception decorated with carved wood details gave the environment an air of historical richness. The guests who arrived there were generally business people and celebrities looking for privacy and luxury, qualities that the Bridges chain offered perfectly. Camilla was, by far, very proud of her business. Every detail had been thought of to ensure that, regardless of appearance or financial circumstances, everyone was treated with dignity and respect. Therefore, Michael's attitude, in dealing with her in a prejudiced way, was not just a personal affront. It was a violation of the hotel's own values. That afternoon, Camilla hurriedly organized a meeting with some of her executives and with Laura, the receptionist who had shown subtle sympathy amidst the manager's contempt. She decided not to announce her visit, but an internal inspection notice was sent to the hotel, which would certainly put Michael on alert. Upon returning to the hotel, this time wearing formal attire, Camilla walked through the lobby, discreetly observing the interactions. He noticed Michael smiling politely at other guests, making way for business couples, and offering special discounts to customers in formal attire. There was no doubt. Michael treated people according to their appearance, ignoring any notion of professionalism or inclusivity. Laura discreetly approached her and led her to a private area of the hotel. I knew who she was and was eager to explain what I had witnessed earlier. "Mrs. Bradley, I apologize for what happened. He has had this behavior since he arrived, but no one had the courage to report him," Laura began, trying to find the right words. "There are people who suffer daily humiliation here, especially employees, but, well, he's the manager, and everyone is afraid." Camilla listened to each word carefully, watching Laura's sincere outburst. He noticed that the young woman was emotional when describing the work climate under Michael's leadership. For Camilla, this further reinforced the need for decisive action. A few hours later, Camilla, accompanied by one of the network's executives, entered the manager's office. Michael, who until then had no idea who she was, stood up quickly, trying to maintain his composure when he saw that she was accompanied. Camilla watched his reaction and smiled slightly before heading to the center of the office. "Michael, I hope you now understand who I am and why I am here," began Camilla with a direct tone. "I am the founder of the hotel." Michael, paralyzed, took a while to react. He opened his mouth, but no words seemed appropriate. The blood drained from his face as he processed the information. At that moment, he realized that his arrogance and prejudice had turned against him in a way he never expected. Camilla continued, with a controlled and firm voice. "And I want you to know that every customer who walks through that door, whether a millionaire or not, deserves the same respect. We do not tolerate attitudes like yours, no matter who they are directed at." Michael tried to stammer out an explanation, but she cut him off with a look that conveyed both disappointment and strength. "I ask that you go to reception immediately and formalize your resignation. And before you leave, I would like you to stop by the staff lounge, where everyone will know about your departure. Laura will be your interim replacement until I make a final decision on the new manager." That same afternoon, Michael left the hotel to looks of surprise and approval from the employees who had gathered to see him leave. For them, Camilla's presence represented a victory for justice and the courage of a leadership willing to face prejudice with determination and a clear lesson that respect comes above all. The next day, the hotel was in an uproar. News of Michael's dismissal spread quickly, and the sudden change in command left guests and staff alike curious and for some apprehensive. Camilla had instructed Laura to organize a meeting with the entire team, in which she would introduce herself as the owner of the hotel and reinforce the commitment to respect and inclusion that hotels' Bridges required. During the meeting, Camilla made a point of speaking directly with each group of employees, from the cleaning team to the customer service staff. She wanted to listen to them, learn about their daily difficulties, and most importantly, understand what would need to be changed to transform the hotel environment into a place where everyone felt respected and valued. Laura, still surprised to have been promoted to interim manager, was at her side, taking notes and helping with administrative matters. While talking to a group of reception staff, Camilla noticed a young employee named Karen who was somewhat nervous and hesitant. At the end of the meeting, the young woman finally found the courage to approach her. "Mrs. Bradley, I wanted to say that I'm sorry for what Michael did and for never having had the courage to take a stand," said Karen in a low voice. "But he made racist comments all the time, with customers and even with us employees. I think many of us were afraid of losing our jobs." Camilla smiled empathetically, understanding the delicate situation in which many of the employees found themselves. The culture of oppression and intimidation imposed by Michael had not just left scars on people, it had ingrained fear, causing everyone to remain silent to avoid retaliation. "Thank you for sharing this with me, Karen," Camilla replied, holding the young woman's hands. "I want you to know that anyone who feels disrespected will have my support. Hotel Bridges needs to be a fair and equal working environment for everyone." Karen's report was one of many that Camilla heard that day. Each conversation revealed more stories of abuses of power, humiliations, and disrespectful attitudes by Michael, who, without any fear of being questioned, used his position to intimidate employees he considered inferior. Feeling the direct impact of her actions on the lives of her employees reinforced for Camilla the importance of her decision to take strong action. But the most unexpected moment was yet to come. That night, a renowned lawyer contacted Camilla. He was representing Michael and, to her surprise, was willing to take legal action against the hotel. The reason? Michael claimed he had been unfairly fired, and his lawyer insisted there would be significant financial consequences for the hotel if the lawsuit went ahead. Apparently, Michael was determined to come out on top and cause trouble, even after the public embarrassment. Upon learning of the threat of prosecution, Laura became apprehensive. She knew that Camilla was an experienced businesswoman, but she questioned whether the whole situation could affect the hotel's image, and even everyone's jobs. "Mrs. Bradley, what are we going to do?" Laura asked without hiding her anxiety. Camilla reassured her with a confident look. For her, this was a desperate and unjustified attempt at retaliation, but she would not let this problem destabilize her. He then called a meeting with his lawyers and outlined a firm strategy. If Michael wanted a legal confrontation, she would be prepared. Days later, to Michael's surprise, Camilla did not give in to the threats. The hotel's legal team presented overwhelming evidence of misconduct, including statements from employees and security cameras that recorded several of their disrespectful and prejudiced interactions. Michael not only lost the case, but was held liable for moral damages and had to pay legal costs. The result was widely publicized among the team, restoring employees' trust in Camilla and the new respect policy she had promised. The change of management thus brought a new spirit to everyone. Camilla's presence in the team's daily life and the support she offered to employees like young Karen left a visible impact on the work environment. The hotel would soon become an example of how respect and inclusion could be practiced, from the cleaning staff to welcoming millionaire guests. For Camilla, that experience was not just a victory over a racist and prejudiced manager, but proof that her achievements went far beyond appearances. Even though she was questioned, she had shown what she was capable of doing for what she believed in. And with that, she gained even more respect from everyone. After the legal victory against Michael, Camilla realized that her presence had brought new energy to the hotel, but also challenges. She had already identified employees like Laura and Karen, who stood out for their ethics and desire to contribute to a positive environment. However, he also noted that some were still resistant to change. Among these employees was Paul, the head of security, who had been close to Michael. Although he avoided open comments, Paul continued to act harshly and treat certain guests and employees with the same disdain that Michael displayed. He was polite to management, but in day-to-day situations, his cold and distant behavior made the team uncomfortable. Camilla realized that she would need to be cautious, as any hasty action could create more resistance. However, the situation became complicated when a new crisis shook the hotel. An international celebrity was staying in the presidential suite, and during a night when the staff was reduced, an incident occurred. A valuable personal item belonging to the guest mysteriously disappeared from the room. The celebrity quickly accused the hotel of carelessness, threatening to publicize the incident on social media. The case could seriously damage the hotel's reputation. Paul was one of the first to intervene, dealing with the situation in a technical way, but without any sympathy. He immediately suggested that cleaning staff be questioned, especially those belonging to racial minorities, generating discomfort and tension among those present. Laura, now as interim manager, was outraged by the attitude, but hesitated to intervene, fearing the repercussions. Camilla, upon learning what happened, decided it was time to take a clear stance and reinforce the new guidelines. He called a meeting with Paul and Laura, making it clear that their discriminatory approach would not be tolerated. She suggested a rigorous but fair investigation conducted by an external team to ensure impartiality. This way, Camilla would protect the integrity of the hotel without sacrificing its values. As the investigation continued, surprising evidence emerged. The missing object had been inadvertently taken by a member of the celebrity's own staff in an attempt to prevent the item from being lost. The star apologized for the misunderstanding and offered a public retraction, praising the ethical and careful way in which the situation was handled. Camilla's decision not to follow Paul's biased instincts was widely appreciated. Laura and Karen, as well as many other employees, were even more motivated to support the new environment promoted by Camilla, an environment based on trust and respect. But for Paul, the episode marked a breaking point. He realized that his behavior had been monitored and felt that his influence was waning. A feeling of bitterness was growing within him, as he believed the new management was threatening the control he felt was necessary to maintain order at the hotel. Over the next few days, Paul began gathering information and spreading subtle rumors among older employees, suggesting that Camilla had shown herself favorable to the newer and less experienced. He attempted to destabilize trust among the team, suggesting that they only favored those who supported their leadership regardless of competence. The situation reached a critical point when Camilla discovered the rumors. While he knew the importance of keeping the team together, he could not ignore the attempt at internal sabotage. He then decided to confront Paul directly. He called him to a meeting in his office, accompanied by Laura, now fully integrated into the new leadership. "Paul, your behavior goes against everything we want for this hotel," Camilla began, maintaining a firm and calm tone. "This place is for everyone, not for a few who decide to act with prejudice or without ethics." Paul, in turn, gave him a challenging look. "I respect your position, Mrs. Bradley, but if you ask me, your actions are not protecting this hotel. The order and respect here were built before your arrival, and I'm not sure this inclusive policy will do business any good in the long run." Camilla was not intimidated. She knew that to preserve the healthy professional environment she wanted to create, she would have to maintain her firm stance. "The issue is not your opinion, Paul, but your conduct. We've made changes to protect the hotel and our staff, and I need everyone to understand that respect and equality are the priorities here. If this is not clear to you, this may not be the ideal place to continue your career. That same week, Paul was let go. Her departure was a new milestone for the hotel, marking the beginning of a culture that Camilla and her team were determined to maintain. For Camilla, the battle against prejudice was not just a matter of politics, but of creating a space where everyone could feel valued. She would not allow old habits to tarnish the work she dedicated her life to building. And with Laura by her side, she knew she had a loyal team prepared to face the next challenges, firm in the purpose of transforming the hotel into a true model of respect and inclusion. A few months after Paul's departure and the establishment of a new policy of respect and inclusion, the Bridges Hotel was thriving. Camilla invested in team training and professional development programs, which not only increased employee motivation, but also attracted a new clientele interested in supporting companies that promoted diversity and social justice. In the midst of this success, Camilla received an unexpected proposal from an international investor. He wanted to buy a large part of the Bridges Hotel chain to expand the brand worldwide. It was a generous offer and, at first, quite attractive. The contract offered a significant capital injection and the promise of expanding the brand into the Asian and European markets. However, the agreement came with a delicate clause. The new investor wanted to replace the hotel management with its own team, keeping only Camilla as executive president. Camilla knew that, by accepting the proposal, she could put everything she had fought for up to that point at risk. The policies of inclusion and respect that she had implemented could be abandoned or, at the very least, diluted with the new administration. Even with the high price offered, she felt divided. For her, that hotel was more than just a business. It was an extension of her values and a symbol of her personal fight against prejudice. To reflect on the decision, Camilla decided to spend a night in one of the hotel rooms, like any other guest. Without saying anything to the team, she settled into one of the executive suites and watched the movement of employees and customers. That night, during dinner in the hotel restaurant, she overheard a group of employees talking about how the work environment was better and how they felt part of something bigger since she took direct control. These spontaneous conversations between employees brought the answer she so needed. With a firm heart, Camilla decided not to sell her share in the hotel. The next morning, he called the investor to a private meeting. "Thank you for your proposal, Mr. Westford, but the Bridges Hotel is not for sale," said Camilla with conviction. "I prefer to grow in my own time and with the values that brought me here." The investor, surprised by her firmness, tried to convince her with a counter-proposal. He offered an even higher value, trying to ensure that the transaction was advantageous for both. However, Camilla knew that by accepting, she would run the risk of losing everything she had achieved with so much effort. "What you need to understand is that this hotel is not just a company for me," Camilla continued, keeping her gaze steady. "He is part of my story, and that of all the people who work here." Faced with her irreducible decision, the investor finally understood that she would not allow herself to be influenced. He was grateful for the opportunity and, admired by Camilla's conviction, left, leaving the certainty that the Bridges Hotel would remain faithful to its original values. The next day, the team learned of the rejected proposal, and the news generated a wave of respect and admiration. Laura, moved, called her colleagues to an impromptu meeting where they paid tribute to Camilla. "Thanks to you, this hotel is more than a place to work. It's where we all have the chance to be valued for who we are." "Thank you very much, Mrs. Bradley," said Laura, while everyone applauded. Camilla, touched by the show of affection, knew she had made the right choice. Amid smiles and hugs, she realized that her true success was not in the financial values, but in the people who made the Bridges Hotel a unique place. Camilla's decision to maintain full control of the Bridges Hotel, refusing the $1 million proposal, further strengthened her commitment to her employees and the values she fought for. The news that she had declined such an advantageous offer just to preserve the environment of inclusion and respect had a transformative effect among the team, increasing the respect and admiration that everyone felt for her. From that moment on, employees began to see the hotel not just as a place to work, but as a community. The training organized by Camilla and Laura began to include discussions on leadership, ethics, and equality. The team was encouraged to actively participate in internal decisions, from ideas to improve service to suggestions for inclusion policies. Each person felt part of something bigger. However, the hotel's success also brought new challenges. Due to Bridges' increased visibility as an example of inclusive and welcoming management, many customers began seeking out the hotel for its reputation, and occupancy rose to record levels. This meant even greater pressure to maintain the standard of service, and Laura, now an effective manager, felt the weight of this responsibility. Although she was dedicated and competent, she began to feel overwhelmed by the volume of work. Camilla, realizing the pressure on her team, decided to introduce new benefits and improve the distribution of tasks. She hired more staff to support customer service and instituted an emotional assistance and training program for managers. Little by little, the Bridges Hotel was consolidating itself as one of the best places to work in the region, attracting new talent and becoming a reference in quality of work environment. But in the meantime, Michael, the still resentful former manager, had found a job at another hotel chain and, in an attempt to tarnish Camilla's reputation, began spreading unfounded rumors about Bridges' management. He claimed that staff were dissatisfied and that the hotel was facing an internal crisis. The accusations caught the attention of some customers and the media, which caused some tension among the team, who feared that the rumors would have a negative impact. To deal with the situation, Camilla chose to take a courageous step. He invited the local press to a press conference where he introduced the entire hotel team and shared their journey, from founding Bridges to building the welcoming environment they now maintain. By giving her employees a voice, Camilla showed the public that the hotel's success was the result of a collective effort. Karen, Laura, and other team members told their stories of growing up at the hotel, making it clear how their lives had been positively impacted. At the end of the press conference, Camilla said, "This hotel is not just mine. It belongs to everyone who works here and every customer who walks through these doors. We built this together, and that's how we intend to continue. Prejudice and disrespect have no place at Bridges." The interview had a positive impact, and the rumors were promptly discredited. Camilla's team felt even more strengthened and realized that regardless of external difficulties, their work would speak louder. Weeks later, the Bridges Hotel was awarded as one of the best hotels in the country, and Camilla's story inspired other companies to follow suit, adopting inclusion and well-being policies for their employees. Camilla's decision to stand her ground, even in the face of Michael's attempts to defame her, proved stronger than any obstacle. For the employees and for Camilla, the Bridges Hotel was now more than a place of work. It was a symbol of resilience, unity, and growth, a place where people could be themselves and still achieve success. With the national recognition that the Bridges Hotel began to receive, Camilla knew that new challenges would come, and that, now more than ever, she would need a well-prepared and motivated team to sustain growth. Therefore, it decided to implement a special internal training and leadership program. Laura and Karen were the first to be invited to participate, and both approached the opportunity with enthusiasm and determination. During training, Camilla shared stories of her own struggles to get where she was. The meetings were held in a small private room at the hotel, and Camilla took advantage of these meetings to inspire each team member to get to know each other better and identify their own professional goals. It was an enriching experience that helped each participant understand their role in creating a positive and inclusive environment where respect and responsibility were core values. Laura, now an effective manager, felt especially challenged by this new phase. Seeing how Camilla overcame each obstacle with resilience, Laura began to believe that she could also evolve in her leadership, becoming a source of support and motivation for other employees. The trust Camilla placed in her pushed her to face her own insecurities, which resulted in a visible change in the way she led. Laura developed a more collaborative and motivating approach, creating a strong bond with her team and cultivating an environment of trust. In one of the training sessions, Camilla presented to the team the idea of expanding the Bridges Hotel to new locations in the country. Instead of looking for large investors who could compromise the network's inclusive culture, she proposed a collective investment model. This would allow team members, former employees, and even loyal guests to invest small amounts to help with expansion. The idea generated immediate enthusiasm. Karen, who already dreamed of becoming a manager at one of the new Bridges hotels, signed up for the advanced training program and with the support of Camilla and Laura began leading some internal projects, testing her organization and planning skills. Camilla saw potential in Karen and knew that the young woman could grow a lot within the company. And for Karen, this was the kind of encouragement she had never imagined receiving. Having a leader like Camilla was inspiring and at the same time challenging. With the expansion project underway, some financial obstacles also emerged. As much as there was enthusiasm and dedication, Camilla knew that she would need reliable partners and more resources to complete the project. At a business meeting with local entrepreneurs, she introduced the Bridges concept and explained its mission of inclusion. To his surprise, many business people supported the initiative and promised to contribute to the expansion. They saw in Camilla's project an opportunity not only for financial return, but for participation in something bigger, which reflected a vision of social responsibility and justice. The hotel expansion, driven by team dedication and community support, became a reality in less than a year. A new branch opened in Texas, with Laura promoted to general manager at the original location, while Karen took on the role of assistant manager at the new location. Camilla, in turn, continued to oversee operations and ensure that the values of respect and inclusion were maintained in each new unit of the Bridges network. The inauguration ceremony of the new unit was a remarkable moment. Camilla spoke to all the employees, partners, and guests present, reflecting on her journey and thanking the team for their hard work and loyalty. That event represented not only a business expansion, but an achievement for everyone who had faced challenges and prejudices alongside her. At the end of the night, while watching the celebration, Camilla felt a deep sense of gratitude and pride. He remembered where everything had begun, the moments of struggle, the sacrifices, and the difficulties overcome to create a legacy that was now extended to other states. She knew that the way there was not easy, but every choice and every challenge contributed to building something unique, something that truly made a difference in people's lives. She looked at Laura and Karen, who were talking excitedly with other team members, and felt that she had fulfilled her purpose. Camilla had not only built an empire, but had created a space where everyone had a chance to grow, learn, and transform. After the inauguration of the unit in Texas, the success of the Bridges network continued to grow. The popularity of the brand brought with it more customers and new challenges, and the hotel soon found itself in the midst of an accelerated expansion that Camilla managed carefully. But in the midst of this progress, an unexpected event endangered the name she and her team had built. One Tuesday morning, a controversial article was published in a large business magazine, accusing the Bridges network of unfair practices and improper preferences in its hires. The anonymous matter quoted alleged internal sources, claiming that the company would have favored minorities to harm the merit selection. Although the accusations were unfounded, the article attracted attention, and quickly the story gained repercussion on social networks, generating an avalanche of comments and questions. The pressure was immediate. Customers, partners, and even some employees began to question Camilla about the accusations, asking for clarification. The attack seemed an attempt to tarnish the hotel's reputation at its highest growth. For Camilla, this was an unexpected blow, especially because Bridges' hiring policies have always been transparent and based on ethics and diversity, focusing on inclusion and equal opportunities. Laura and Karen were concerned, and the two decided to work alongside Camilla to understand the origin of the accusations. They revised documents, re-evaluated the hiring processes, and called an urgent meeting with the entire team to discuss the issue openly. During the meeting, Camilla, with a safe tone, shared her indignation with the team and determined that those responsible for spreading such lies would be identified. Our work here has always been based on respect and integrity, and I will not allow this effort to be unmeasured by anyone who is trying to overthrow us, said Camilla, making clear her intention to protect the reputation of the company and each employee dedicated to Bridges. Laura suggested that they seek legal support, and at the same time Camilla decided to face the problem transparently. In a series of interviews and communications, she explained in detail the principles of Bridges' inclusion and answered all questions, reaffirming her commitment to justice and equity. Meanwhile, Karen and Laura worked with the lawyers to find out who was behind the anonymous accusations. It was then that a surprising discovery was made. The origin of the accusations was linked to former manager Michael. He had achieved the support of a local journalist to defame the Bridges network, seeking revenge against Camilla for the way he had been fired. It was an attempt of personal retaliation, disguised as an investigative matter, which was now being revealed as an unreserved attack. With the tests in hand, Camilla decided to sue Michael and the responsible journalist, not just to restore the honor of Bridges, but to send a clear message about the consequences of defamation and prejudice. The case went to trial and, during the process, several former employees of Michael, who had suffered from their abusive behavior, were called to testify. The trial brought out the abuses he had committed while in the hotel, exposing his true face to the public. The judicial victory was a relief to Camilla and her team, but more than that, it was a victory for all those who believed in her view for the hotel. The positive response of the public was overwhelming, and the case, widely publicized in the media, further strengthened the Bridges' image as a hotel that represented the fight against prejudice and commitment to inclusion. Shortly after the outcome of the case, Camilla organized a commemorative meeting with the entire team to reinforce the company's purpose and thank each one for their loyalty. Everyone gathered in the main hall of the hotel, where Camilla, thrilled, expressed her pride and gratitude. None of us would have done it alone. What we built together is something no one can take, she said, looking at each one there. And that this hotel is always a space where everyone feels respected and welcome, no matter where they come from. While the employees applauded, Camilla felt that the worst had gone through, but knew that episode would mark the hotel forever, leaving a lesson of resistance and unity. She had fought against prejudice and challenges, but above all had reaffirmed her commitment to the values she believed in. And this commitment was now shared by all who worked by her side. After winning the lawsuit against Michael and restoring the reputation of the hotel, Camilla was stronger. The team was motivated, and the expansion of bridges seemed to follow a path of consolidated success. However, the victory over the defamation did not end the challenges, and the biggest one was yet to come. One night, Camilla was surprised by an urgent call from Laura. One of the newly opened hotels located in Miami had suffered an attack, a criminal fire. Fortunately, the damage was contained before affecting guests, but the fright and material losses were considerable. Local police had begun an investigation, and according to the first findings, there was strong evidence that the attack had been premeditated. Camilla was in shock. Miami was one of the units in which the team had worked with great dedication, and now, amid the promising growth of the network, something like this directly threatened everything that had built. She immediately flew to the scene, accompanied by Laura and Karen, and upon arriving, felt the weight of the situation when she saw the devastated expression of the employees. They feared their own job and wondered if that meant the end of the expansion project. Faced with the destructive fire that had hit the hotel, Camilla gathered the team. Although tiredness and fear were evident, she knew that her presence and support was crucial at that time. She decided to speak, conveying a message of strength. "I know this situation is terrible, but let's not let it defeat us. We are stronger than any threat, and the Bridges Hotel will continue to stand, whatever the obstacle." His words restored the team's hope. Then she talked to the police and made a point of following the investigation closely. After a few weeks, they found that the fire had been planned by a group that aimed to destabilize companies such as Bridges, which promoted racial equality and inclusion in their practices. It was a hateful movement, a direct attack on the values that the hotel represented. With the revelation, Camilla felt a mixture of revolt and determination. He knew that backwards at that moment was not an option. She redoubled security measures in the other hotel units, but in Miami, she did something even more striking. She announced publicly that the hotel would be rebuilt and that all employees would receive full support during the process. His decision had a great impact and aroused positive reactions across the country. Companies from various sectors, inspired by Camilla's courage, offered financial and logistics help for reconstruction. As the works advanced, Camilla realized that this tragedy had brought the team even closer. Employees from different branches organized internal fundraising campaigns and created an emotional support network for colleagues affected by the incident. Hotel Bridges was no longer just a company. It had become a family united by the same cause. On the day of the hotel reopening in Miami, Camilla and the whole team gathered for an emotional celebration. Laura, Karen, and many others who had been part of this journey were there, side by side, seeing Camilla's dream of the ashes. When Camilla took the stage to speak, the hall was crowded with people who believed in her vision and supported the hotel's mission. She started, with her voice embargoed, but holds, "Today we prove that what defines us is not the attacks we suffer, but the strength with which we respond to them. This hotel is not just a brick and marble construction. It is a symbol of resistance, equality, and a future where everyone has a place. Thanks to each of you for being with me on this walk." The audience exploded in applause, and Camilla felt a deep emotion. There, at that moment, he knew that he had surpassed more than a series of obstacles. She had overcome her own hatred system that tried to overthrow everything for her fighting. The Bridges Hotel, with each unit and each employee, has become a living proof that values such as respect and inclusion can prevail, even in the face of cruel attacks. After reopening the hotel in Miami, the Bridges network became a symbol of overcoming and courage across the country. Customers and employees saw in hotels more than a place of luxury and comfort. They saw a built environment about respect, where diversity was valued as one of the greatest goods. Camilla's story, her struggle against prejudice, and commitment to her team repercussions widely. Entrepreneurs, influencers, and even politicians began to highlight bridges as a reference for inclusion and social justice. Over time, other units were opened, always following the model of ethics and responsibility that Camilla had idealized. Laura, who had started as a shy receptionist, now led New York's headquarters with confidence and firmness. Karen, who grew up alongside Camilla from the first challenges, has become one of the network's regional managers, always loyal to the values she learned from her mentor. However, for Camilla, the real victory was to see how bridges had turned lives. With each new hiring, she made a point of following the process, ensuring that the hotel values were transmitted to all. The network was no longer just a business, but a movement. And the strength of this movement was in each person who, regardless of his origin, race, or social condition, was valued for his skills and the unique contribution he brought to the team. One night, after a long day of meetings and decisions, Camilla walked through the lobby of the Miami unit. Observing the movement of the guests and the smile of the employees, he felt a peace he had not experienced for a long time. She knew that despite all the obstacles and sacrifices, she had built something that could not be destroyed. Bridges was stronger than ever and would remain a place where dreams came true and overcoming stories were written every day. As he left the hotel, he received a message from Karen. "Thank you for believing in me from the beginning, Mrs. Bradley. Thanks to you, I found my place in the world." Camilla smiled, thrilled. That was living proof that she had fulfilled her purpose. And as he looked at the city's lights, he knew that the Bridges Hotel would continue to shine, taking a message that no one could erase with it.